This carbonara is baby violet approved.
Hi, welcome to Daddy Cooks Dinner. Today we're in for a treat. We are going to be making a classical Italian carbonara. 5 simple ingredients. Let's dive into them now. In front of us we have pecorino, about 1/3 pound of pecorino, 1/3 pound of pancetta, 4 eggs, of which we'll be using 3 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk, and then some fresh made bucatini pasta, and as always, freshly ground black pepper. To start our pasta water, we want this, as they say, as salty as the ocean. So I'm going to take a obnoxious amount of kosher salt and pour in. I'm going to go bring this to the boil while we prepare our meat. To prepare our pancetta, we're going to take our 1/3 pound. We're going to chop it into about 1/3 inch thick slices. So they're already, this one happened to be already in about that same thickness. So now I'm going to slice them into cubes. It's a pretty fatty meat. Most of the fat's going to be rendered out, and that's what's going to give a lot of the flavor to our sauce. Okay, it's about the size of the pieces that we want. I'm going to go to the stove. I'm going to heat a saute pan, high-sided 3-inch sides, on medium-low heat, and I'm going to put them right in as it warms up. The reason why we do that is because we want to cook out this fat slowly. We don't want to burn it. And while that's going, let's work on our sauce. Remember, we're going to do 3 full eggs and 1 egg yolk. Now you've got some options. Traditional carbonara calls for pecorino cheese, but a lot of times you like to cut it in half pecorino, half Parmesan. It gives it a more creamy, more rounded flavor, but for this recipe we're going to do traditional, so we're going to stick with only 100% pecorino, and we're going to be using about about 4 ounces. All right, now we're gonna add all the cheese to the egg mixture. And now we're gonna add a metric ton of black pepper. All right, that's it. About the time where you get tired and you want to switch hands or change positions, that's the right amount of pepper. Now let's beat it with a fork and start mixing it up. Now once your slurry of eggs and delicious cheese and pepper looks a little bit chunky, but for the most part smooth, it's time to pay some more attention back to our pancetta and our pasta. Has not quite started rendering enough. There's a little bit of bubbles coming out, but we need to increase the heat a little bit. We really want that fat to start rendering. In the meantime, our pasta has not gone in yet, even though we are at a rolling boil with water that is as salty as the ocean. But fresh made pasta is only going to take about 2 minutes to cook, so we need to wait until this is pretty much done before we start that. So as this fat is starting to render, we're going to keep this moving. We don't want any spots to stick to the pan. That's why I'm using a non-stick, as well as we don't really want our pancetta to brown. Almost there. We're getting a nice color to our meats. The fat's starting to cook out. Starting to get a lot of fat down in the pan. Just a few more minutes. Okay, we're pretty much there right now. We are going to go ahead and make sure our water is at a rolling boil and go ahead and drop in our pasta. Cook for about 2 minutes. Check it for done. You want to cook it to be almost all the way done. You don't want a firm al dente. It's not going to cook much more when we put it in the pan. I'm going to go ahead and put in our spaghetti now, and then we're going to go ahead and strain off the fat. We're going to keep all of our delicious meat. Okay, now we're going to strain off the pancetta fat. I've got a fine mesh strainer in the bowl below. We're going to keep the fat, and then we're going to return the pancetta back to the pan. We're going to cut the heat though. We're going to do that right now. Cut the heat, bring it on. Strain that out. We're gonna keep the pan right here. We're gonna return the pan. And now we're gonna fish out just a little bit of the fat back into the pan. And now we add our noodles. Okay, it's time. Our pasta is cooked to a perfect al dente plus. We've got our pancetta that has been cooked down, rendered out some fat, a little bit of fat left in there. One little secret, I'm gonna skim off a little bit of pasta water, probably about, what's that, about a cup? We're gonna hold a cup just to see what we need. I'm gonna pull all of my, I'm gonna take our bucati, our pasta, and we're gonna add it straight to pan. All right, and we're gonna work quick because the residual heat from the pan as well as the heat from our pasta is what is going to cook our eggs. So then now we're gonna add our beautiful egg cream slurry. And we're gonna work quick now. And we're gonna toss it. If it's too runny, add more cheese. If it's too thick, add some pasta water. So right now, we got a little bit of a little too runny for my taste, so guess what? Oh shucks, I get to add more cheese. As always, taste to season. All right, let's get rid of this and get ready to plate. I ended up taking enough pasta water with the pasta as I transferred that I won't actually need this. But if your pasta was too thick or your sauce was too thick, add some of the pasta water and then really give it a big shaking and it'll liven it up a lot. Let's plate. Now you notice there's no garlic, no parsley, because this is a traditional carbonara. So I'm gonna pick up a few strands. As they dangle, put it on the plate, and then twist as I go. Spin the plate, and of course, we want to get all that goodness. So we're going to top with our pancetta.
And there you have it, a traditional carbonara brought to you by Daddy Cooks Dinner. Now let's try some. Let's see. Oh yeah. Honey, you gotta have this. This is delicious. Bring the baby. And there you have it, a traditional carbonara, straight out of Rome, brought to you by Daddy Cooks Dinner.